If you've tried to buy a game on Steam recently, you might have seen this message. Valve has announced the removal of PayPal as a payment option in many countries. This is not a bug or a mistake, it's part of a bigger problem. The biggest question is, why is this only happening in certain countries? Now, you might remember 1 month ago when we first talked about the collective shout, Steam adding a new rule, and the mass removal of games, that it seemed like PayPal was involved. This is because right at that same time, it seemingly stopped working. It was unknown if this was some bug, a coincidence, or actually related to the situation. Now, when you try to use PayPal in an unavailable country, you get this official statement from Valve. Steam stated in early July 2025, PayPal notified Valve that the requiring bank for payment transactions in certain currencies was immediately terminating the process of any transactions related to Steam. This is important because an acquiring bank is the bank that handles payments on a company's side. Think of it as the bank that collects the money for Steam. They go on to say this affects currencies other than Euro, Canadian dollar, British pound, Japanese yen, Australian dollar, and the United States dollar. This means that for every other currency in the world, PayPal is no longer a payment option to buy Steam games. They continue by saying, "We hope to offer PayPal as an option for these currencies in the future, but the timeline is uncertain. We are also evaluating adding additional payment methods on Steam for the customers affected by this. In the meantime, please use one of our other current payment methods during checkout. If you can't use any of the available options, you can consider using a Steam wallet code to add funds to your account." This confirms that they are actively trying to fix a problem that they did not create. But this statement also leaves us with a massive question. If the problem is with Steam's content, why would the bank only care about certain currencies? Why is PayPal still working perfectly fine in big markets like the US and the EU? One person on Reddit decided to call PayPal's customer service in Poland to get an answer. The lady insisted I contact Steam because they were the ones who pulled the plug because Steam prefers customers to use their balance. When the user read the official Steam message to the rep, she became irritated and hung up. Does this sound familiar? Because it should. This is the same thing we saw with MasterCard and Visa. When those companies put pressure on Steam, they then publicly denied it. So Valve had to be the one to tell the public the truth. It's clear that PayPal is now doing the same thing, blaming Steam to avoid talking about their own actions. When you put all the facts together, it shows a clear connection. This is a bigger plan to control what people can and can't buy online. For this Steam situation, it all began with an activist group asking payment companies to stop handling payments for games with sexually explicit content. MasterCard and Visa were some of the first to act, which led to Steam's new rule. MasterCard denied doing this, but Valve's statement proved they were the ones responsible. At that exact same time, the game store itch.io had its payment services with Stripe removed. Stripe's statement was clear, saying it couldn't support this kind of content because of its banking partners. This proves that these banks and payment companies are indeed the ones stopping the payments. Now we have the exact same thing happening with PayPal. A bank on PayPal's side has ended its agreement with Steam. The fact that all these events happened at the same time makes it impossible to think that this is just some wild coincidence. Now, you might be wondering, why was PayPal only removed for some countries? They start by making changes in smaller markets with fewer legal protections. This allows them to test their power and put pressure on companies without risking their biggest markets like the US and the EU. This strategy is meant to force companies like Valve to agree to their demands everywhere without a major fight. The good news is that Valve is not giving up. Their statement that they are actively looking for new payment methods for affected customers is a big sign that they are fighting for gamers and will not be pushed around by these companies, although they sort of have to right now. So the PayPal ban is not a bug. Whether it's the banks, card networks, payment processors, they all try to deny any of this is happening, but there is a clear history, not just with Steam, but for all kinds of reasons. It's getting so big that we have the Japanese government and even Donald Trump stepping in to stop this from happening by signing a new executive order guaranteeing fair banking for all Americans. We even got a statement from the chairman of the FDIC mentioning how they are going to be adding a new rule so these financial companies have to stop using reputational risk as a reason to deny business. So now we have MasterCard trying to remove service on Steam through their acquiring banks, PayPal removing service on Steam for a bunch of countries because of their acquiring banks, and Stripe removing service on Itch because of their banking partners. So this is clearly a massive problem that needs to be fixed. In 6 months though, the government will officially have a strategy on stopping this from happening, which could include new laws and regulations, but obviously this might not help everyone around the world, like what we are seeing with PayPal removing service in select countries. The best part about this new statement though is that Valve officially confirms that they are working on new payment methods, especially for the affected countries. We have joked about the idea of Valve Pay, but Valve joining the payment space to avoid these problems really doesn't seem like a stretch anymore. Around 2012 to 2013, Valve became concerned that Microsoft's new Windows 8 and its App Store model could threaten Steam's dominance in PC gaming. This worry directly led Valve to create its own operating system, SteamOS, to reduce its reliance on Windows, which anyone who knows about SteamOS now, it outperforms Windows on gaming benchmarks. With this being such a big issue that clearly shows how these companies like Steam heavily rely on these payment companies, and Gabe Newell loving to be a game changer from his deep sea marine research to his neuroscience brain implant company, I wouldn't put it past them to try to make a solution. We also can't forget Elon Musk, who is aware of the Steam censorship and has mentioned he is working on XPay. So this is a problem that we are dealing with right now, but hopefully it will be fixed soon. Do you think we can see Rule 15 removed from Steam by next year?